Welcome, traveler, to another quiet journey through the pages of history. Tonight, we step into the heart of the medieval Silk Road, where cultures, languages, and traditions intertwined under the vaulted arches of a Persian caravanserai. Close your eyes and imagine yourself arriving at dawn. The desert horizon is wide and endless. The walls of the caravanserai standing tall against the morning sky. Camels, weary but steady, pad softly toward its great wooden doors. Soon, merchants will gather, their stalls rich with silks, spices, copperwork, and stories carried across deserts and mountains. This is not a tale of kings or conquerors, but of everyday life, of traders, travelers, and villagers coming together on market day. A world of color, scent, and sound painted softly in memory. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and allow your mind to wander. With the crackle of imagined firelight and the rhythm of history's gentle heartbeat, let us begin our journey. Dawn at the caravanserai. The first light of day begins gently, as though the desert itself is waking from a long dream. The horizon glows with a muted band of pale gold, and above it the sky is still draped in the deep blues and soft violets of the fading night. The air is cool, holding the last of the night's breath, and with it a certain stillness, as though the entire world pauses to listen for the first stirrings of the morning. Against this horizon stands the silhouette of the caravanserai, a fortress-like structure, square and sturdy, its high walls bathed in the earliest rays of dawn. The great arched gateway is still closed, but beyond it, one can imagine the courtyard stirring to life. A caravanserai is both a resting place and a marketplace, a crossroads for weary travelers and ambitious merchants, for pilgrims and poets, for animals and their keepers. At dawn, it is not yet bustling with trade, but it is already quietly alive, preparing itself for the day's unfolding. Outside the gates, a line of camels kneels patiently, their broad bodies resting on the sand. Some shift gently, snorting, the sound low and resonant, while their keepers move among them, adjusting saddles and packs. Horses are tethered nearby, sleek and restless, their manes catching the morning light. Donkeys with panniers filled with goods stand in smaller groups, stamping their hooves softly against the ground. Each animal is vital, bearer of silks, jars of oil, bundles of spices, rolls of carpet, or simple provisions needed for the journey. The men tending to them speak in hushed tones, their words softened by the morning stillness. Some splash water from leather skins into wooden troughs, letting the animals drink deeply after the night's rest. Others unpack blankets, saddlebags, and cloth-wrapped bundles, laying out wares that will later be displayed in stalls. There is a rhythm to these movements, slow, careful, unhurried, as though the market day cannot begin until the sun itself has fully risen. The gate of the caravanserai creaks open with the effort of men pushing its heavy wooden doors. Its iron fittings gleam faintly in the dawn light. As the threshold reveals the inner courtyard, the space within begins to glow, catching the first true beams of the sun. The courtyard is large, framed by arcades and chambers with arched entrances, each doorway leading to rooms where travelers have spent the night. Some chambers house traders who slept on woven mats with their goods piled beside them. Others are reserved for animals, now emerging into the open with a sense of steady routine. Within the courtyard, the smell of firewood rising to flame begins to spread. A cook squats beside a low hearth, coaxing embers into life. The smoke curling upward and thin, pale threads that catch the morning light. The scent of bread baking soon follows. Simple flatbreads pressed on heated stones, their aroma comforting and familiar. Somewhere else in the caravanserai, a pot of tea is being prepared, the sharp green fragrance of leaves mingling with the earthy smell of smoke. One can almost hear the sound of footsteps across the packed earth of the courtyard, sandals scuffing, leather boots crunching, as merchants begin to stir. Their voices rise in soft conversation, speaking in Persian, Arabic, Turkic, and other tongues from distant lands. A caravanserai is never home to just one people, but rather a place where roads converge, and with them cultures, languages, and stories. Here, before the market begins, there is no rush, no clamor, but a gentle murmur, travelers greeting the day. Near one of the arcades, a merchant unfolds his cloth bundles. Layer by layer, he reveals the contents, bright silks of turquoise and crimson, shimmering faintly even in the dim light. He lifts them carefully, shaking them out so they ripple like water before folding them again. Another trader, seated cross-legged beside a wooden chest, lifts the lid to reveal ceramic jars filled with dried herbs and resins. He uncorks one, releasing a sweet, resinous fragrance that drifts into the cool morning air. From another corner comes the metallic clink of brass trays being stacked, their polished surfaces reflecting the sunrise. The sounds of animals continue, the deep rumble of a camel's throat, the bray of a donkey, the soft stamping of hooves. These mingle with a faint bubbling of water poured into clay jugs, with the crackle of kindling, with the whisper of cloth being unfolded. The market is still only half awake, but already it holds within it the promise of the day's activity, like the hush before the first notes of a song. Above, swallows dart in and out of the open sky, their wings cutting swift arcs in the morning air. Some perch briefly on the crenellations of the caravanserai's walls before taking flight again. Their presence adds to the feeling of a world that is only now beginning to move. Not suddenly, but gently, gradually, as though guided by the rhythm of the sun. As the sun rises higher, its golden light spreads across the courtyard, illuminating the details of the architecture. The walls of the caravanserai are built of baked brick, their surfaces bearing the marks of both time and craftsmanship. Above the main gate, inscriptions in elegant Persian calligraphy curve in graceful lines, prayers and blessings for travelers passing through. The arches along the courtyard cast long, cool shadows, their curves echoing a timeless harmony. In the center of the courtyard lies a stone basin of water, catching the sky's reflection, a place where travelers wash before prayer, where animals drink, where coolness lingers even as the day grows warmer. In one corner, a small group of pilgrims gathers, adjusting their robes and turbans, rolling up their bedding, and preparing for another day's journey. Their faces are calm, lined by travel and sun, their movements steady. They speak softly to one another, sometimes pausing to gaze toward the horizon, perhaps measuring the day's distance still to come. Yet for now, they too are part of the stillness of dawn, witnesses to the awakening of the caravanserai. There's a gentle beauty to these moments, when life is not yet hurried, when the day has not yet reached its peak. The clamor of bargaining, the lively exchange of goods and stories, the full press of the market, all these lie ahead. But in the quiet of dawn, there is only preparation, anticipation, and a shared sense of arrival. The caravanserai is a place of rest, but also a place of beginnings, and each day it welcomes the sun anew with these quiet rituals. One might pause here, take a deep breath, and simply watch. The smoke rising from clay ovens, the golden light spreading over brick and stone, the animals shifting in slow rhythm, the merchant arranging their wares with practiced care. All of it together creates a scene of calm continuity. The caravanserai has stood here for years, perhaps decades, and each dawn repeats this same quiet ceremony. Travelers come and go, goods change hands, languages mingle, but the rhythm of the place remains, steady as the turning of the sun itself. As the first call to prayer echoes faintly from the minaret of a nearby village, carried by the morning air, some within the caravanserai pause in their work. They face east, their forms aligned in still devotion, their voices quiet but unified. For a moment, the bustle stills again, and only the soft murmur of prayer remains. When it ends, movement resumes, but with a renewed sense of peace. It is as if the caravanserai itself has taken a breath before stepping fully into the day. The marketplace is not yet alive with trade, but its foundations are laid in these early hours, in the kindling of fires, the arranging of goods, the care for animals, the greeting of fellow travelers. Dawn is not merely the beginning of light. It is the weaving of intention, the preparation of space, the gathering of energies. By the time the sun rises fully overhead, the caravanserai will be transformed into a vibrant crossroads. But in this moment, it is something gentler, a sanctuary, a place where the world slowly unfolds. And so, with the first chapter of the day, we linger in this stillness, watching the caravanserai awaken. The animals shift and snort. The merchants unfold their treasures. The cooks prepare their breads and teas. The air is filled with promise, and the light grows steadily brighter. The desert horizon is no longer pale gold, but the deepening warmth of a new day. And the caravanserai stands ready to welcome all who enter. The architecture and atmosphere, the caravanserai, seen by daylight, reveals itself as more than just a structure of brick and stone. It is a world within walls, a place that shelters journeys, preserves stories, and transforms travelers from strangers into companions of the road. To speak of its architecture is not simply to describe measurements and materials, but to enter into a rhythm of space designed to bring order to the often uncertain life of travel. From the outside, the caravanserai appears almost austere, as though its first duty is protection. Its walls rise high and straight, built of baked brick, earth-colored and sun-warmed, their surfaces scarred by time, yet strong, enduring. To the traveler approaching across the flat expanse of desert, these walls offer reassurance. They promise shade, safety, and the certainty of water within. The square form, solid and symmetrical, is not adorned with excess decoration, but its very strength becomes a kind of beauty. The caravanserai belongs to the land, shaped by the desert's needs, resistant to its winds and heat. At the center of the southern wall stands a great gateway. It is arched and tall, designed not only for men, but for caravans of camels, laden with their burdens. Heavy wooden doors, bound with iron, swing inward to reveal the world inside. Above this portal, carved inscriptions in Persian flow in graceful lines. They are prayers for safe passage, blessings for the merchant and pilgrim, and invocations of divine protection for all who enter. Some of the inscriptions are softened by centuries of wind and sand, but their meaning remains clear. This is a place where travelers are welcomed, where journeys find pause, where the human need for shelter and rest is honored. Stepping inside, one emerges into the courtyard. the living heart of the caravanserai. It is a vast square, open to the sky, its ground packed hard by the tread of countless feet and hooves. Around its edges runs an arcade of pointed arches, their rhythm steady, their shadows deep and cool. Behind these arches lie chambers, square rooms of brick, some larger for merchants and their goods, others smaller, meant for humble travelers who need only a mat on the floor. These chambers are simple, but they are steady and clean, a roof against rain, walls against wind, and always the sense of being enclosed within something greater than oneself. In the very center of the courtyard lies the cistern or pool, cut from stone. Here water is stored, drawn up by buckets tied to rope. The pool reflects the sky, catching clouds in its still surface, and at night the moon and stars shimmer within it, as if heaven itself has descended. Around this pool, travelers gather to wash dust from their hands and faces, to drink, and to refresh their animals. The sound of water, cool and constant, provides a counterpoint to the dryness of the desert beyond the walls. It is no accident that the water lies at the center, for in these lands, water is life, and the caravanserai is built as a sanctuary around its presence. Above, swallows and doves nest in the arches, their calls echoing lightly across the space. Their flight softens the geometry of brick and stone, reminding all who dwell within that this place, though built by human hands, is still alive with the rhythms of nature. The wings of a bird gliding through the air carry the same message as the water rippling in the basin. This is a place of balance, where structure and life meet. If one lingers in the arcade, standing in its shade, one begins to notice details of design. The bricks, though simple, are laid in patterns that form faint herringbone motifs. Carved plaster above some of the arches reveals traces of floral designs, perhaps once painted, now faded to whispers of color. The calligraphy near the main gate is mirrored in smaller inscriptions above doorways. Verses from the Quran, blessings invoking peace, reminders of patience and trust. These decorations are not loud or excessive. They whisper rather than shout, in keeping with the caravanserai's role as both a refuge and a passageway. The architecture does not seek to dominate the traveler, but to cradle them. Beyond the ground floor chambers, some caravanserais possess an upper level, reached by narrow stairways hidden within the corners of the courtyard. These upper rooms are used for storage or for wealthier travelers who desire greater privacy. From above, one sees the courtyard spread like a patterned carpet, the pool at its heart, the merchants below unfolding their wares. The walls enclose all, but the sky is open, limitless, a reminder that even within safety, the journey continues outward. Each caravanserai is also a fortress. Its outer walls bear no windows, no openings save the main gate. At night, when the doors are closed, the place becomes a stronghold. Guards pace the ramparts, keeping watch against bandits and raiders. Inside, the arcades and chambers remain calm, lit by lamps of oil, their flames flickering against the brick. This dual nature, shelter and fortress, gives the caravanserai its unique character. It is at once hospitable and defensive, welcoming and guarded. It belongs to the road, yet stands firmly rooted against it. But architecture is not only what one sees, it is also what one feels. To walk into the caravanserai from the blazing desert sun is to enter a different world. The air shifts, cooler, stiller, carrying with it the faint smell of brick warmed by centuries of light. The echoes soften sound. A camel's low call becomes a resonant murmur. A man's footsteps fall with a gentle rhythm. The The walls create not silence, but a harmony where each sound lingers longer, layered with the memories of countless other voices that have passed through. It is as though the caravanserai listens as well as shelters. The atmosphere deepens as the day grows. By mid-morning, when the sun climbs high, the courtyard is bathed in light, its shadows short and sharp. Merchants sit cross-legged in the arcade, the cool shade wrapping them as they display their goods. Fabrics shimmer like pools of color, jars of spices stand in neat rows, brassware gleams with careful polish. The geometry of the building frames these displays, lending them a dignity, as though every object, no matter how humble, has its rightful place. At midday, the heat presses down, and one feels the caravanserai as a refuge more keenly. The thick walls and deep arches preserve coolness. The shade becomes a blessing more precious than gold. Travelers recline in the arcades, drinking water slowly, chewing dates, speaking in hushed tones. The place breathes with them, holding them in its protective calm. When evening comes, the architecture transforms again. The setting sun paints the walls in hues of amber and rose, the arches deepening in shadow, the pool reflecting fire-colored skies. Lamps are lit, their flames flickering against the brick, casting warm halos of light. The courtyard becomes intimate, no longer vast but close, its spaces softened by the gentle glow of fire. In the arcade, one hears the crackle of wood, the bubbling of pots, the murmur of prayers. The caravanserai is no longer only stone and space, but a dwelling of lives intertwined. Its walls bear witness to shared meals, to stories exchanged, to songs sung quietly into the night. What makes the atmosphere of a caravanserai so distinctive is not just its form, but its purpose. It exists because of the road, because men and women journey through desert and mountain, carrying with them the goods of distant lands and the hopes of reaching another horizon. The architecture is shaped by necessity, but in being so, it acquires grace. The high walls, the strong gate, the central courtyard, the cool chambers, all are born from need. Yet together they create a harmony of space that welcomes as well as protects. To walk through a caravanserai is to move through time. One touches the same walls touched by countless others, hears footsteps echoing against bricks worn smooth by centuries, drinks from the same wellspring of water that refreshed caravans long vanished into the desert. The atmosphere is thick with memory. Every chamber holds the trace of a sleeping traveler. Every archway frames a story. Every courtyard breathes with the rhythm of countless mornings and evenings. The architecture is enduring, but the lives within it are fleeting, passing like shadows across its walls. And yet, it is this very passing that gives the caravanserai its soul. At night, under the vast Persian sky, the atmosphere shifts once more. The walls no longer hold back the desert heat, but preserve its coolness. The stars emerge, countless and clear, their lights spilling into the open courtyard. The pool reflects them, trembling with every ripple of water drawn. Lamps flicker beside merchant stalls, their flames no rival to the brilliance above. In these moments, the caravanserai feels less like a building and more like a bridge between earth and sky, between the human journey and the eternal vastness. And so the architecture and atmosphere of the caravanserai are inseparable. It is not only a structure of walls and arches, but a living rhythm of space, time, and purpose. It shelters and it guards, it welcomes and it endures. Its atmosphere is woven from the sound of footsteps, the scent of bread baking, the echo of prayer, the shimmer of starlight. To stand within its walls is to feel both the vastness of the journey and the intimacy of rest. The caravanserai does not belong only to stone or to those who built it. It belongs to the traveler who enters weary and emerges refreshed, to the merchant who lays out his wares, to the pilgrim who pauses on his sacred path, to the animals who kneel in its shade. It belongs to all who pass, and to none who stay, for it is a house of the road, a sanctuary of impermanence, and a reminder that every journey is made of pauses as much as of distance. The arrival of merchants and caravans. The caravanserai, no matter how finely built, comes alive only when the caravans arrive. Its courtyard, silent in the early morning hours, waits like an empty stage. Then, on the horizon, faint lines appear in the wavering light of the desert. Dust stirs, rising in a pale cloud. The sound reaches the ears before the sight is clear. The deep, rhythmic padding of camel hooves, the creak of wooden saddles, the faint jingle of metal harnesses. The desert itself seems to quiver with anticipation, for it is in these moments that the purpose of the caravanserai reveals itself most vividly. The caravan approaches in a long line, camels stretching one after another in patient rhythm. Their gait is steady, unhurried, for camels know no haste. Their pace is that of the desert itself. Upon their backs, high wooden saddles support loads wrapped in cloth and bound with rope. Bundles of goods, rolled carpets, jars sealed with wax, baskets filled with dried fruits, bolts of silk or cotton. From afar, the shapes appear like small, swaying mountains, rising and dipping in a slow dance as the animals plod forward. Beside them walk the drivers, their turbans wound tightly, their faces darkened by sun and sand. They carry sticks not as whips, but as guides, gently tapping the legs of the camels when needed, calling out short, rhythmic sounds to encourage movement. These men walk as if born to the road, their steps steady, their bodies lean, their eyes turned not toward the horizon, but toward the earth, as though counting each stride. Some of them hum soft melodies, songs passed down by generations, the sound blending with the shifting bells tied to the camels' necks. At the head of the caravan rides the leader, mounted on a camel finer than the rest, its saddle adorned with dyed cloth, its reins stronger, more carefully tied. The leader's posture is upright, his gaze calm but alert. His is the task of guiding all who follow, not only through the desert paths, but through the negotiations and dangers of travel. Behind him trail merchants, some riding their own animals, others walking alongside their goods. Their garments reveal their origins, robes dyed indigo from the lands near Samarkand, turbans striped with the patterns of India, cloaks lined with wool from Anatolia, and boots thick with the dust of distant roads. As the caravan nears the gates, a murmur rises from within the caravanserai. Guards atop the walls call down, and the great wooden doors swing open with a groan. The courtyard, moments ago calm, begins to stir as stable boys, water carriers, and waiting travelers rush to see the newcomers. The smell of camels, dry, musky, mingled with dust, enters the space. The beasts kneel one by one as their drivers tug gently at the reins. They fold their legs with a groaning sigh, their loads swaying before settling onto the ground. The sound of ropes creaking fills the air as knots are untied, bundles unloaded, jars lowered. The merchants dismount, their movements slow with fatigue, but steady with purpose. Their first steps inside the caravanserai are filled with relief. Not only the relief of safety after miles of open road, but of water, shade, and companionship. They greet the gatekeepers with quiet words, offering tokens or coins to secure their lodging. Their voices carry accents from many lands, some soft and lilting, others harsh and guttural, a tapestry of tongues woven together in this single meeting place. Meanwhile, the animals are led to the stables set against the outer walls. Here, troughs are filled with water, hay and fodder laid out in heaps. The camels, freed of their burdens, lower their heads and drink deeply, the sound of their long gulps echoing in the chamber. Horses, if there are any, are rubbed down and given special care, their manes combed, their hooves checked. Even the smallest animals, goats or donkeys that may have accompanied the caravan, find rest and nourishment. The life of the caravanserai depends as much upon these creatures as upon men, for without them, no journey could be endured. Once the animals are settled, the courtyard becomes the true theater of arrival. Servants and apprentices carry goods into chambers. Merchants unfold mats upon which their bundles will soon be displayed. Dust rises as baskets are opened, filling the air with scents unfamiliar to some. The sweetness of dried figs, the pungency of cloves, the faint sharpness of indigo dye. The courtyard begins to shift from emptiness into abundance, as though the desert itself has poured its hidden wealth into this enclosed square. Not all arrivals are merchants. Some who step through the gates are pilgrims, their load smaller, their pace more humble. They carry not wares but tokens of devotion, prayer beads, cloth-wrapped Qurans, staffs worn smooth by countless miles. Their eyes are weary, but their hearts fixed upon a destination beyond trade. These pilgrims mingle with the merchants, both seeking the same shelter, both drinking from the same pool. The caravanserai erases difference. Here, the merchant prince and the poor traveler kneel side by side to wash their hands, for the road humbles all who walk it. Others among the arrivals are storytellers, musicians, or healers who wander with the caravans, offering their skills where needed. The storyteller carries no goods but the weight of memory. His bundles are tales from far cities, his currency the attention of a crowd. The musician carries a lute or drum, the healer perhaps a satchel of herbs. These figures, though not merchants, are equally vital to the spirit of the caravanserai, for they bring comfort and meaning to the long, uncertain roads. As the bustle unfolds, one may notice the rhythm of welcome. Every caravanserai has its keepers, men appointed to oversee lodging, to record the names of those who arrive, to ensure that disputes are settled fairly. They move quietly among the arrivals, speaking to the caravan leader, assigning chambers, directing servants. Coins exchange hands, though never loudly. Hospitality is expected, but it has its order, its boundaries. The caravanserai thrives on balance, generosity tempered by fairness, welcome tempered by rules. The architecture, too, shapes this arrival. The great courtyard, wide and open, allows the caravan to spill inward as though poured from the desert. The arcades frame their entry, offering instant shade, a place to lean, a wall against which to rest. The pool gleams in the center, drawing the thirsty like a beacon. The walls hold the sound of voices, making them echo, so that the courtyard becomes alive with murmur and call. Without this space, the arrival would be chaos. Within it, the flow becomes a ritual, repeated endlessly across centuries. Evening often amplifies this sense of arrival. As the sun sets, the merchants light small fires within the arcade, their flames flickering against bundles of goods. The newly arrived gather in groups, sharing bread and dates, drinking hot tea boiled in copper pots. Stories begin to rise, first spoken softly, then gathering momentum. Travelers recount the perils of their road, sandstorms in distant deserts, raiders near the mountain passes, bridges washed away by spring floods. Others speak of cities far beyond the horizon, Baghdad with its golden domes, Damascus with its gardens, Kashgar with its bustling markets. Each word is both information and entertainment, a way to pass the evening hours while binding strangers into a shared fellowship. The arrival of a caravan is never merely physical, it is also cultural. Each group brings with it echoes of its homeland. Spices carry scents of foreign kitchens, textiles shimmer with distant patterns, accents twist words into unfamiliar shapes. The caravanserai becomes, in a single evening, a map of the known world compressed within its walls. A merchant from Persia may sit beside a trader from India, their goods lying side by side on woven mats, their stories mingling until the differences blur. Children, if there are any among the travelers, run laughing across the courtyard, their voices high and free. They weave between animals and bundles, chasing each other in circles until their mothers call them back. The walls that once echoed with camel bells now ring with laughter, the sound of innocence surviving even in the midst of long and wearying journeys. As night deepens, the bustle quiets. Merchants retire to their chambers. Pilgrims spread mats in the arcade. Animals settle into sleep. The fires burn low, sending threads of smoke upward to join the stars. The courtyard empties, yet the sense of presence remains, as though the very walls hold the memory of the day's arrival. The caravanserai rests, but it breathes, waiting for the next dawn, the next dust cloud on the horizon, the next procession of weary travelers seeking its shelter. The arrival of merchants and caravans is not a single event, but an eternal cycle. One leaves, another comes. One journey ends, another begins. The caravanserai stands at the turning point of these journeys, neither origin nor destination, but the pause between. In its courtyard, time gathers, the footsteps of countless travelers layered one upon another, the sound of countless voices lingering in the air. To witness an arrival is to glimpse the heart of the Silk Road itself, beating steadily through centuries, drawing lives together in the rhythm of travel. And so, each arrival is more than movement. It is a ceremony, a reaffirmation of purpose, a reminder that the desert, vast and dangerous, is survivable only when men and women gather together. The caravanserai becomes not only stone walls and chambers, but a living testament to connection, a place where roads converge, goods exchange, friendships spark, and the human journey finds both rest and renewal. Sounds and smells of the market. As the morning settles into a soft warmth, the market within the caravanserai begins to awaken in earnest. The courtyard is no longer simply a space of stone and arches. It transforms into a living tapestry of sight, scent, and sound. Each footstep, each movement of cloth, each quiet murmur of a voice contributes to the rhythm of the day. Imagine standing at the edge of the main thoroughfare, letting your senses stretch gently into the unfolding market. The first sound that draws attention is the low murmur of human presence, subtle and unhurried. Merchants arrange their wares with careful deliberation, unfolding silks, polishing ceramics, and stacking small jars of spices and scented oils. Their voices rise softly, not as demands or shouts, but as polite invitations. Come, see these saffron threads, bright as the morning sun. A trader murmurs, his words floating lazily in the air, mingling with the gentle scrape of hands on wooden counters. Across the courtyard, another merchant speaks with a quiet laugh, showing a visitor the delicate patterns painted on a ceramic bowl. These voices intertwine, forming a muted chorus that blends with the space rather than breaking it. Alongside the voices, there is the constant, soothing rhythm of movement. Camels shift their weight in their tethered positions, leather harnesses creaking softly. Horses nick softly, stamping hooves on the warm stone. Cloths ripple as they are unfurled and repositioned across stalls. The quiet scraping of a wooden cart's wheel over uneven stone echoes faintly, punctuating the ambient hum of the market. Each sound is gentle, never jarring, a rhythm that invites calm observation rather than hurry. It is not long before the scents of the market begin to rise and mingle, creating an invisible but vivid landscape. The first wafts are of food, freshly baked bread, still warm from clay ovens, carrying a yeasty sweetness that mingles with the faint aroma of butter and honey. Steam curls upward from small braziers, where skewered lamb sizzles slowly, the rich, earthy scent of roasting meat blending with spices rubbed into tender cuts. Bowls of saffron rice, a golden sun in miniature, release their delicate fragrance into the courtyard. Dates, plump and glistening, offer their subtle sweetness, sticky and fragrant, a quiet counterpoint to the heavier aromas of roasted meat. Spices rise like invisible dancers between the arches. Cardamom, cinnamon, cumin, and cloves each lend their voice to the aromatic chorus. The air is layered and textured, a soft cinnamon whisper brushing against the heady, deep notes of cumin, while the bright, floral hint of saffron floats above. Merchants, mindful of these subtle perfumes, arrange their jars with care, polishing the glass and clay so that the scent is released gradually rather than in a sudden rush. When a visitor draws near, the fragrance envelopes them like a gentle embrace, warming the skin and inviting a slow, deliberate breath. Amid these culinary and aromatic delights, other scents lend depth to the atmosphere. Leather from saddles and harnesses carries a faintly smoky, oiled richness. Wool and woolen carpets emit their earthy, slightly sweet odor, mingling with the scent of the sun-warmed stone beneath. Water from the shallow fountain sparkles faintly, and the faint, clean scent of moving water drifts along the arches, cooling and balancing the richness of the market. Incense curls upward from small burners at certain stalls, trailing delicate streams of aromatic smoke. The fragrant tendrils rise lazily, coiling around the arches, brushing against hanging textiles, and dispersing slowly into the courtyard, carrying faint whispers of myrrh, frankincense, and dried rose petals. The market's auditory palette is further enriched by the presence of music. A lute strings softly plucked by a merchant's young apprentice sends gentle vibrations through the air. Notes rise and fall, carefully measured, echoing faintly off the high stone walls. Sometimes a small flute adds a bright, airy counterpoint, a playful contrast to the mellow resonance of the lute. The music is not meant to command attention, but to accompany the rhythm of trade, a subtle soundtrack to the sensory immersion that is the caravanserai market. As you wander through the courtyard, each step offers new layers of subtle sound and scent. A scholar brushes past, his sandals stirring a gentle dust, carrying with him the faint aroma of ink and parchment from the manuscripts he carries. A woman, returning from the fountain with a jar of water, leaves behind a trace of cool, clean moisture in the sun-warmed air. Even the animals contribute, their quiet snorts and the occasional shake of a tail, punctuating the otherwise soft symphony. The arrangement of the stalls themselves seems designed to allow these senses to flow naturally. Silk drapes billow gently in the desert breeze, their subtle movement adding a faint rustling, almost like the whisper of leaves in a quiet garden. Spices are displayed in shallow bowls, carefully balanced so that the scent escapes gradually, never overwhelming. Pottery and metalwork reflect the sun in muted glints, catching the eye gently, encouraging slow, lingering observation. The market is a living painting, each element chosen to contribute to a calm, layered sensory experience. In one quiet corner, the aroma of a freshly brewed herbal tea drifts into the passageway. Steam curls lazily from a small pot, carrying with it subtle notes of mint and chamomile. A merchant tends the kettle, pouring the warm liquid into small cups for travelers passing by, each sip offering comfort and a pause in the gentle flow of the morning. Nearby, a small group of children tread softly, their voices a delicate addition to the ambient soundscape, laughing in hushed tones as they chase a loose thread across the stone floor. The combination of sound and smell in the market produces a certain rhythm that is neither hurried nor stagnant. The courtyard breathes in gentle cycles. The murmur of conversation, the scrape of hands on counters, the quiet jingle of coins, the occasional flutter of textile against stone. With each inhalation, one can sense the layers of history embedded in this place. The centuries of travelers, merchants, and artisans who have passed through, each leaving traces in the air, the stones, and the walls. Even the subtle shift of sunlight over the arches contributes to the sense of quiet movement, shadows stretching and shrinking in slow, deliberate gestures. The day progresses, and the market deepens into a meditative flow. Visitors pause not to rush, but to linger, savoring the gentle sensations of sight, sound, and scent. The air remains rich but never overwhelming, each aroma complementing the next. Voices ebb and flow like a tide, dipping into silence, then rising softly again. Every footstep, every murmur, every small gesture contributes to the calming cadence of life within the caravanserai. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, the scents become warmer, the sounds slightly softer as travelers move more slowly, carrying purchases with care. The market is alive, yet not frantic. It is a space of harmony where sensory richness and human presence coexist in gentle equilibrium. It is a place to breathe, to observe, to become part of the slow unfolding of a day within these walls. Here, the aromas and sounds are inseparable from the sense of history, as if the courtyard itself remembers every scent, every laugh, every quiet negotiation. One might pause beside a bowl of saffron threads, inhale the subtle perfume of roasted meat, and hear the faint lute in the background, and feel entirely transported to this 12th century moment. The combination of sensory experiences lulls the observer into a calm, reflective state, a slow immersion into the rhythm of everyday life in a world far removed from hurry or noise. By the time the afternoon begins to settle into the muted glow of approaching evening, the sounds have softened further, and the fragrances linger in the air like a memory. The market's life is not gone, but it has shifted, a gentle transition that hints at the day's next chapter. The courtyard, once bustling with a harmonious interweaving of scent and sound, now exhales a calm, soothing sigh, inviting all who remain to move slowly, breathe deeply, and allow the richness of the market to sink into their senses. Encounters and exchanges. As the market settles into the cadence of the day, the caravanserai courtyard becomes a subtle stage for human interaction. Here, amidst the scent of spices and the warm sunlight reflecting off polished ceramics, the lives of travelers, merchants, and pilgrims intertwine, not in hurried drama, but in quiet, meaningful exchanges. Each movement, each gesture, each glance carries the slow pulse of everyday life, a rhythm that invites gentle observation and reflection. Near the center of the courtyard, a scholar moves with careful deliberation, pausing at each stall to observe manuscripts, scrolls, and small tablets of knowledge. His hands are steady, turning pages and lifting fragile papers with reverence. The scent of ink and parchment rises faintly, mingling with the aromas of roasted meat and sweet dates. Occasionally, he leans closer to inspect the delicate script, tracing the curves of calligraphy with a finger, murmuring softly to himself. His presence is quiet, almost meditative, a study in attentiveness. Merchants approach him with courteous bows, offering scrolls of poetry, astronomical charts, or medicinal recipes. The scholar listens patiently, his nods slow and deliberate, eyes glimmering with gentle curiosity. There is no urgency here, only the quiet joy of discovery, the careful exchange of knowledge and goods. Not far from him, a small group of pilgrims rests on a woven carpet spread beneath the shade of an arched corridor. They have traveled from distant villages and desert paths, their robes dusted lightly with the morning wind. One of them, an older man with a soft-spoken demeanor, pours water from a clay jar into small cups, offering it first to the youngest among them. There is a gentle reverence in the act, a mindful tending to others that speaks of long journeys and shared patience. The younger travelers sip slowly, their eyes following the distant movements of merchants arranging silks and ceramics, the hum of the courtyard settling around them like a soft blanket. Conversation among the pilgrims is quiet and measured, each word chosen with care, stories told in low tones that carry not through the space, but across the circle they inhabit. Nearby, a merchant from Samarkand displays a small assortment of gems and jewelry, arranging each piece with meticulous care. His hands are steady, polishing stones and shifting them in soft light to catch the eye of passers-by. Occasionally, he glances up and smiles at a visitor, nodding politely, and a quiet conversation unfolds. Coins are counted slowly, the faint jingle of copper and silver adding to the ambient rhythm of the courtyard. Words are exchanged softly, questions asked with curiosity rather than demand, responses given with patience and gentle humor. The merchant tells small stories of his travels in low tones. A caravan crossing a sun-baked plain, a quiet night under distant stars, a friendly interaction with a distant trader. Each tale measured and calm, inviting listeners to pause and imagine rather than excite or startle. Even the smallest interactions carry a sense of warmth and human connection. A child, hands sticky from dates and honey, approaches a stall of sweets with quiet wonder. The merchant kneels to meet the child at eye level, offering a small piece of candied fruit. The child's eyes light up, a tiny smile forming, and the courtyard seems to pause in acknowledgement of the simple, shared joy. Nearby, a scholar passes a note to a fellow traveler, the exchange almost imperceptible, yet filled with the weight of mutual understanding. Each of these moments, while small and ordinary, contributes to the gentle heartbeat of the caravanserai, a rhythm that flows steadily and without haste. The courtyard is dotted with similar moments. A weaver, fingers stained lightly with indigo, demonstrates the delicate technique of knotting a carpet's fringe to a visitor who watches with quiet fascination. The two speak in soft tones, hands moving slowly over threads, eyes following the intricate patterns. A merchant of scented oils lifts a tiny jar toward a traveler, inviting them to inhale the fragrance of rose or jasmine. The visitor breathes deeply, eyes closing for a brief moment, savoring the layered scent, and then nods in appreciation. These exchanges are neither hurried nor transactional in the usual sense. They are moments of presence, a gentle acknowledgement of shared humanity and craft. Amidst these quieter interactions, there is still the steady background of the market's activity. Merchants move between stalls, adjusting wares, offering polite guidance to passersby, responding to inquiries with measured attention. Travelers pause, turning their gaze slowly over the rows of textiles, ceramics, manuscripts, and trinkets. The courtyard hums with a gentle energy, not frenetic, but alive, a soft current that carries everyone forward in a rhythm of calm observation and thoughtful interaction. In one corner, a poet seated upon a low carpet reads verses aloud, his voice measured and serene. Travelers gather around, leaning in gently to hear, smiles forming without words. The rhythm of his reading matches the pace of the day, ebbing and flowing like a gentle breeze. Children sit cross-legged nearby, their eyes wide and attentive, while merchants pause their work for a few quiet moments to listen. Here, the market becomes not merely a place of commerce, but of shared culture and reflection, a space where human connection is as valued as the goods exchanged. The courtyard also carries quieter, almost imperceptible exchanges. A traveler offers a bit of bread to a tethered camel, brushing a palm over its dusty coat. A merchant hands a cup of tea to a weary colleague, the gesture small, but infused with care. Even the way coins are counted and placed with careful hands, or how a basket of fruit is adjusted so the ripest pieces catch the sun's glow, carries a subtle attentiveness that speaks of mindfulness and presence. There is a quiet poetry in these details, an unhurried choreography that gives the courtyard its gentle pulse. As the day progresses toward midday, the exchanges become softer, less frequent, yet more intimate. Shoppers who have paused to admire silks or ceramics linger with a merchant over a story of distant lands, their attention fully captured not by urgency, but by fascination. The scholar who once moved deliberately between manuscripts now sits quietly with a fellow traveler, exchanging observations about the text, ideas spoken in calm, reflective tones. The pilgrims share a quiet meal together, each motion, pouring water, breaking bread, offering dates, carried out with intention and grace. There is a subtle sense of rhythm in the courtyard, a cadence born of repeated gestures and gentle exchanges. Each movement of hands, each lowered gaze, each soft-spoken word becomes part of an unhurried pattern. The market breathes in cycles, a pause, a gesture, a quiet laugh, a murmured question, a patient response. And in this rhythm, there is comfort. Each person knows their role in this living space, and the interactions, though varied, all move together in harmony. The sun continues its slow arc across the sky, casting soft light across the arches and courtyards, illuminating the quiet connections being formed and observed. A young apprentice brings water to a resting merchant, the small gesture unnoticed by most but deeply felt by those involved. The scent of roasted lamb mingles with that of sweet dates and the lingering aroma of incense. A slight breeze carries these scents across the courtyard, brushing against faces, mingling with the quiet laughter of children, the gentle counting of coins, and the low murmur of conversation. In these hours, the market feels almost suspended in time, each encounter a small jewel of human connection. The courtyard is not merely a site of trade. It is a space of mutual recognition, where travelers, merchants, and pilgrims meet, not in haste or contention, but in deliberate and gentle communion. Eyes meet, gestures are mirrored, hands pass over delicate wares with shared care. A story is told here, a smile exchanged there, a coin placed gently beside a gem, all forming a quiet symphony of human interaction that is felt more than it is heard. As the afternoon continues to unfold, the exchanges in the courtyard deepen in subtlety. The scholar who began the day browsing manuscripts now pauses to discuss the finer details of a poetic verse with a local merchant, each word slow, deliberate, and full of curiosity. Nearby, a young traveler listens intently to the soft narration of a merchant from distant lands, absorbing the rhythm of speech, the cadence of tales, the textures of lived experience. Every interaction, no matter how small, is deliberate and unhurried, a gentle thread weaving together the lives of those present. The courtyard, with its arches and fountains, its shifting sunlight and lingering scents, becomes a haven of calm, a space where encounters are measured not by speed, but by attentiveness. A visitor might pause beside a merchant arranging gemstones, inhale the faint aroma of rosewater in the air, and watch as a child steps lightly past, and feel a profound sense of quiet satisfaction. Every sound, every scent, every glance contributes to the meditative rhythm of the day, grounding the courtyard in its own slow, deliberate pace. By the time the sun begins to tip toward late afternoon, the gentle cadence of exchanges starts to soften, moving toward the quieter rhythm of evening. Travelers linger in conversation, merchants fold cloths with care, and the courtyard exhales a gentle, collective sigh. The interactions that began with simple curiosity now resonate with connection, patience, and attentiveness. And in this space, the visitor or observer is invited to step fully into the calm of the caravanserai, to breathe with its rhythm, and to carry with them the gentle memory of human warmth and presence in a world that moves slowly, deliberately, and softly. Noon and rest. By the time the sun has risen to its zenith, the courtyard of the caravanserai begins to change. The bustling energy of the morning softens, giving way to a slower, more deliberate rhythm. Shadows stretch beneath the arcades, offering cool refuge from the desert sun, and the stone floors, warmed by hours of light, radiate a comforting heat that encourages stillness. The market continues its quiet pulse, but the urgency of early trade has subsided, replaced by a gentle, almost meditative flow. Travelers seek shade wherever they can find it, stepping lightly beneath the arches or resting upon woven carpets spread across the floor. The soft rustle of cloth accompanies each movement, a sleeve brushing against a mat, the gentle repositioning of a hat to shield from the sun, the quiet adjustment of sandals on warm stone. The air itself seems to slow, carrying a warm, languid scent of herbs, spices, and sun-baked stone, mingled with the faint sweetness of dried fruits and fresh bread. Even the animals, which have contributed their quiet noises to the morning, now settle into calm repose, shifting slowly, stamping hooves quietly, or lying down in the shade with gentle exhalations that mingle with the still air. Stalls are arranged as they have been since the first light of morning, but the merchants themselves are less hurried. They pause often to rest, leaning against sturdy wooden counters or sitting cross-legged on carpets, wiping brows with soft cloths and sipping from small cups of tea. The aroma of the tea, mingled with the lingering scent of incense and spices, drifts across the courtyard in lazy waves. Some merchants exchange quiet words with neighboring traders, conversations so soft that they are barely more than whispers, a gentle accompaniment to the courtyard's broader symphony of quiet sound. In one shaded corner, a scholar continues his careful examination of manuscripts, but now with a more leisurely pace. He sits cross-legged upon a woven mat, a small sunbeam illuminating the faintly yellowed edges of the pages he holds. Each movement is deliberate, lifting a scroll, tracing a line of script with a fingertip, inhaling the faint, comforting scent of ink and parchment. Occasionally, he glances up to observe travelers moving slowly across the courtyard, their presence a soft reminder of the world beyond his small circle of study. Every gesture is unhurried, every glance infused with mindfulness. Nearby, a group of pilgrims reclines upon the cool stone under the arches. Their robes, touched lightly with dust from distant roads, form soft folds around their seated bodies. One pours water from a clay jar into small cups, offering it with careful attention to the others. The act is deliberate, an acknowledgement of shared presence, a pause in the rhythm of travel. As they sip, soft murmurs of conversation unfold, low and measured. Stories of their journeys are shared with the gentle cadence of someone who has walked long miles and wishes only to breathe into words the patience and calm of the road. Laughter, when it arises, is soft and warm, a quiet ripple that enriches the calm of the afternoon rather than disturbing it. The courtyard itself seems to participate in this unhurried pause. A shallow fountain, set at the center of the market space, sends water rippling across its surface in smooth, endless circles. The sound is soft and steady, a gentle counterpoint to the occasional shuffle of sandals, the quiet stamping of camels' hooves, or the faint clink of coins handled with care. Light glints off the surface of the water, casting dancing patterns onto the surrounding stone and weaving a tapestry of moving brightness and shadow. A gentle breeze stirs the air, lifting the edges of cloth draped over stalls, teasing the ends of carpets, and carrying the subtle mingling of aromas throughout the courtyard. Food, too, takes its place in this midday rhythm. Carpets spread for simple meals, baskets of fruit and flatbreads laid before seated travelers and merchants alike. The aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with the scent of sweet dates and dried figs, each item offered or shared with care. Clay bowls of rice, faintly golden with saffron, are arranged beside small cups of tea or water. Hands reach for morsels slowly, deliberately, savoring each taste not as a necessity, but as a part of the day's gentle ritual. The act of eating itself becomes a meditation, each motion purposeful, each flavor noted with quiet attention. Animals, too, receive care with patience and tenderness. Camels kneel to be fed and watered, their steady, calm breathing adding to the rhythm of the afternoon. Horses are brushed, leather harnesses oiled lightly, hooves inspected and cleaned. The gentle sounds of animals moving, shifting, and breathing are layered with the soft murmurs of humans tending to them, forming a continuous, soothing background hum that fills the shaded courtyard. Even the pigeons and small birds, attracted by crumbs or the distant scent of sweet foods, flit softly overhead, their wings beating in measured, almost imperceptible rhythms. Conversations continue in soft tones. A merchant and traveler discuss the colors of dyed silk, comparing notes with calm curiosity. A scholar exchanges observations with a fellow student over a diagram of celestial movement, their discussion carried out with measured gestures and quiet laughter. Pilgrims share tales of distant lands and desert crossings, their words more melodic than hurried, each pause a natural punctuation in the flowing narrative of their day. Every exchange is deliberate, intentional, a gentle reminder that human interaction need not be hurried to be meaningful. As the sun continues its journey across the sky, the light itself softens, casting a warm, golden glow across the stone floors. Shadows of arches stretch farther, merging and stretching across the courtyard, marking the passage of time without urgency. The heat, which might have been oppressive in the open sun, is tempered by the coolness of shaded areas and the gentle movement of air. Even the bright tiles of walls and fountains take on a more muted, restful quality, reflecting light in soft, calming patterns. In this hour, the market seems almost to breathe with the people within it. The courtyard inhales and exhales in gentle rhythm. A step taken slowly across the stones, a hand lifted to adjust a basket of goods, a quiet laugh, the subtle ripple of water in the fountain. It is a space alive with motion and sound, yet in a manner that encourages reflection, a mindful attention to the present moment. Travelers rest, merchants pause, scholars linger over their manuscripts, and animals settle comfortably into shaded corners. The world slows, and all who inhabit it are invited to slow with it. Small rituals unfold naturally within this pause. Tea is poured with deliberate care, each cup offered with attention and received with gratitude. Fruits and breads are shared, not as transactions, but as gestures of quiet connection. Conversations rise and fall, a gentle cadence rather than a demand for response. Even the act of simply sitting, observing the market, watching the slow movement of people, animals, and sunlight, becomes an intimate engagement with the life of the caravanserai. In corners of the courtyard, artisans continue their quiet labors. A potter smooths the surface of a clay vessel, fingertips tracing every curve. A weaver adjusts the fringe of a carpet, knot by knot, each movement precise and unhurried. The soft clink of tools, the gentle motion of hands, the focused gaze of craftspeople, all form part of the layered rhythm of noon. There is no hurry, no sense of urgency, only the steady unfolding of work, rest, and observation, intertwined like threads in a tapestry. As the hour wears on, the courtyard becomes a haven of calm, a place to witness the quiet beauty of everyday life. Travelers lean into shade, listening to the faint murmur of conversation, the soft rustle of textiles, the distant bleat of camels or clatter of coins. Merchants pause, drink, adjust wares, and smile at passing visitors. Scholars trace lines of text with deliberate fingers, absorbing the knowledge in quiet contemplation. Even the smallest moments, a child adjusting a straw hat, a merchant rearranging a bowl of dates, a horse shifting slightly beneath its tether, contribute to the sense of harmony and rhythm. By late afternoon, the courtyard is filled with a profound sense of stillness, punctuated only by the soft, deliberate movements of those present. The sun continues its descent, and the air carries a warm, comforting weight. The scents of bread, spices, and sweet fruits linger, mingling with the cooler notes of stone, water, and shaded air. Conversations have become quieter, gestures slower, and the entire space seems to exhale, settling into the gentle lull that will carry it into the latter hours of the day. In this midday pause, the caravanserai is not merely a place of commerce or travel, but a living space of calm reflection, attentive presence, and mindful rest. Every action, however small, is part of the larger rhythm of the courtyard. And as travelers, merchants, and pilgrims continue their quiet routines, there is a subtle understanding that life need not rush to be full. The ordinary, the everyday, the gentle unfolding of tasks and gestures, these are enough to fill a day with richness, warmth, and soft delight. Afternoon to dusk. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, the courtyard of the Caravanserai enters a new rhythm. The heat of midday has softened, leaving a warm, golden glow upon the stone floors and tiled walls. The bustle of the market eases, the hurried exchanges of morning replaced by deliberate, measured movements. Each merchant, each traveler, each animal within the courtyard seems to take a deep, collective breath, settling into a calm cadence that invites reflection and gentle attention. The stalls, once vibrant and densely arranged, now show signs of completion and tidiness. Merchants carefully fold fabrics and roll carpets, arranging them to catch the last gleams of sunlight. Bowls of spices, once full and carefully displayed, have been gently replenished or carefully stored away, their aromas lingering in the air like faint reminders of the morning. Jars of perfume and delicate oils glint in the soft light, reflections catching the eye with understated elegance rather than striking brilliance. The courtyard feels ordered yet alive, as though every object has found its proper place within the unfolding rhythm of the day. Travelers move slowly, their steps measured and unhurried. Those who have made purchases pause to inspect their items, handling them with care and curiosity. A scholar leans over a manuscript one last time, tracing the delicate script with attentive fingers before rolling it neatly and securing it with a silk ribbon. Pilgrims fold their robes and prepare their few belongings, speaking softly among themselves as they recount the day's discoveries and encounters. Each gesture is deliberate, intentional, as if aware that the day's final hours are to be savored rather than rushed. The air is rich with layered scents, each mingling softly as the light deepens. The warmth of the sun has drawn out the faintly sweet aroma of dried fruits and the gentle, lingering scent of baked bread. Spices, now mellowed by the passing hours, hang quietly in the air, a delicate tapestry of cumin, saffron, and cardamom. Incense smoke curls lazily from small burners at select stalls, tracing slow, curling paths above textiles and bowls, dissolving gently into the desert breeze. Even the animals, camels and horses alike, seem to exhale in unison with the calming atmosphere, their breath warm and steady, mingling subtly with the scent of earth and straw. The sounds of the courtyard reflect this slow transition. Voices are quieter, conversations carried out in hushed tones. Laughter is softer, occasional and fleeting, like a gentle ripple over the courtyard's otherwise calm surface. The clink of coins, so common in earlier hours, is now subdued, each transaction deliberate, considered. The soft scrape of a hand across a polished ceramic or the faint rustle of a silk robe as it is folded adds to the understated symphony of the late afternoon. The fountain at the center of the courtyard continues its gentle rhythm, water flowing in smooth, meditative circles, a quiet heartbeat for the space around it. A merchant from Samarkand adjusts the final display of gemstones, tilting each stone to catch the gentle amber light. He speaks in low tones to a passing visitor, describing the origin of a sapphire from distant mountains, or the subtle red of a garnet from a desert trade route. The listener nods, absorbing the information slowly, inhaling the faint scent of rosewater and incense that lingers in the air. Nearby, a scholar passes a note to a fellow traveler, their discussion unfolding softly, quietly, as if the words themselves are to be savored rather than hurried through. Children, who had been active earlier, now move with careful steps, observing the remaining bustle without interrupting it. A child pauses beside a basket of dates, lifting one with a small, delicate hand, and a merchant smiles, offering another in quiet acknowledgement. There is no rush, no sense of pressure. These small gestures are part of the courtyard's gentle rhythm, the soft weave of human presence and attentiveness. Even the pigeons, flitting lightly from ledge to fountain edge, seem to sense the slowing tempo, their wings moving in measured, deliberate beats. Throughout the courtyard, there is a gentle choreography of preparation for evening. Merchants sweep the stone floors lightly, brushing away crumbs of bread or scattered straw, their movements careful and steady. Clay pots of water are replenished, small fires checked, and remaining food carefully stored. Carpets are folded, baskets arranged, and wares packed with calm precision. Each motion is thoughtful, a quiet acknowledgement that the day's work is drawing to a close. The very walls of the caravanserai seem to respond to this slowing, the arches and tiled surfaces reflecting the sun's waning light in warmer, softer tones. Travelers and pilgrims, too, begin their subtle rituals of rest. Some pause under the shade of an archway, observing the soft changes of light and shadow. Others prepare simple meals, breaking bread and sharing dried fruit. Each movement unhurried, mindful, intentional. Water is poured into small cups with gentle care. Tea is steeped in a quiet corner, and the faint scent of herbs drifts lazily across the courtyard. Conversation continues, but it is measured, calm, and often punctuated by long moments of silence, where observation and reflection take precedence over speech. The market's ambient sounds slowly transition from the varied clamor of trade to the more uniform, comforting noises of a courtyard settling into late afternoon. Water ripples quietly in the central fountain, its surface catching glimmers of the softening light. The low murmur of voices is punctuated by the gentle stamping of hooves or the faint rustle of fabric as it is adjusted or folded. Even the soft brushing of hands across stone or what becomes part of the courtyard's layered rhythm, a subtle accompaniment to the fading energy of the day. Golden sunlight continues to drape across the arches and tiled walls, deepening shadows and creating pools of warmth on the stone floors. The light itself seems to slow, moving in a deliberate, unhurried arc that marks the passage of hours without urgency. Merchants pause in these shafts of sun to admire their wares one last time before packing them away, tilting bowls of spices to catch the fading brilliance, or allowing silk to ripple gently in the afternoon breeze. Travelers follow this same pace, stepping lightly across the courtyard, feeling the warmth beneath their feet, and taking in the details of arches, fountains, and tiled walls with mindful attention. Even the courtyard's animals seem to sense the day's transition. Camels stretch slowly, rolling gently onto the warm stone, their long necks swaying lazily. Horses shift lightly in their tethers, ears flicking at faint sounds, nostrils lifting to the soft, perfumed air. Each creature moves with patience and attentiveness, responding to the rhythm of the courtyard, its unhurried heartbeat echoing through the arches and corridors. Their breathing adds to the subtle symphony, a low, steady undertone that harmonizes with human voices, water, and wind. Small acts of human kindness continue to thread through the courtyard. A merchant offers a cool drink to a weary traveler. A child is guided gently by an older companion. A scholar shares a brief observation with a neighbor. These interactions are quiet, tender, unhurried. They carry no urgency, only presence and attentiveness, reinforcing the sense of calm that envelopes the market as the afternoon wanes. Each gesture, each smile, each exchange contributes to the overarching rhythm, a pattern of deliberate care that shapes the atmosphere of the caravanserai. As the sun dips lower, the courtyard is bathed in a warm, honey glow. Shadows stretch and merge, tiles glint with softened brilliance, and the air grows slightly cooler, carrying the sense of baked bread, sweet dates, and lingering spices in a delicate, calming blend. Conversations become even softer, more reflective, as if the day itself has requested stillness. Travelers fold their purchases, pack their belongings, and lean into moments of quiet observation, watching as the market settles into its own gentle tempo. Evening preparation becomes a slow, mindful ritual. Lanterns are lit, their flames flickering gently, casting amber light on stone walls and tiled floors. Merchants arrange their remaining goods with care, sweeping away crumbs, stacking bowls, and tending to the small fires that will provide warmth through the approaching night. Travelers rest on carpets, sip the last of their tea, and watch the golden light fade into the cooler, gentler tones of dusk. The courtyard breathes in quiet harmony, a space alive with human presence, attentive care, and gentle reflection. By the time the first hints of twilight reach the arches, the courtyard has transformed from the lively hub of commerce to a sanctuary of calm. The sounds, once varied and abundant, now settle into a soft, meditative hum. Water in the fountain rippling slowly, the low murmur of voices, the measured breathing of animals, the faint rustle of textiles in the evening breeze. The light softens further, casting the courtyard in muted gold and deepening shadows, marking the transition from day to night with understated grace. In these final hours of activity, the caravanserai courtyard invites a sense of reflection, an awareness of the passage of time, and the quiet beauty of ordinary, deliberate human interactions. Every gesture, folding a cloth, counting coins slowly, offering a sip of water, adjusting a basket of fruit, carries weight not through urgency, but through intention. The golden light, soft scents, and measured sounds of the courtyard combine to form a lullaby of everyday life, soothing the mind and heart alike, preparing both the market and its visitors for the gentle embrace of evening. Evening in the caravanserai. As the sun finally dips beneath the horizon, the caravanserai courtyard enters a gentle twilight. The warm gold of the afternoon light softens into a muted amber, fading gradually into dusky blues and deepening shadows. The stone walls, the arches, the tiled fountains, and the worn paths all take on a more subdued hue, reflecting the calm that settles over the space. The once bustling courtyard now breathes in quiet rhythm, each corner a study in stillness, each figure moving with a soft deliberation that honors the close of day. Lanterns are lit one by one along the arches, their flames flickering with gentle warmth. Small fires crackle quietly in strategic corners, where travelers prepare simple meals or gather for tea. The glow casts soft, dancing shadows across the courtyards, painting the stone floors and tiled walls in delicate patterns of amber and soft gold. Even the faint reflection of lamplight in the fountain's rippling water adds to the courtyard's quiet, meditative beauty. With each flicker, The space seems to sigh, acknowledging the slow passage from day into night. Travelers move calmly beneath the arches, carrying water, cups, or small bundles of goods, each gesture slow and intentional. Some pause to observe the shifting colors on the tiles or the soft glow of firelight on a polished ceramic bowl. Their footsteps are muffled against the stone, blending with the faint rustle of fabric and the gentle murmur of conversation. Even the animals, camels and horses alike, seem to recognize the quieting of the day, standing or lying in restful positions, their breathing steady and unhurried. In one corner of the courtyard, a small group gathers around a low fire. Their faces are bathed in amber light, eyes softened, expressions calm. One traveler begins a story, voice low and deliberate, words flowing slowly like a gentle stream. The tale is not of grand battles or dramatic deeds, but of simple experiences along distant roads, a night under the stars, the kindness of a fellow traveler, a quiet observation of a desert sunrise. Listeners lean in slightly, absorbing each word, the cadence of speech blending seamlessly with the murmurs of water from the fountain and the soft crackle of the fire. Laughter rises only softly, never abruptly, a gentle echo that weaves into the evening air. Nearby, a scholar traces lines of script in a small manuscript, leaning over the pages in the muted lamplight. The parchment glows faintly, and the scholar's fingers move with care, lifting, turning, and smoothing with measured attention. Occasionally, he glances toward the firelit group, a soft smile touching his lips at some quietly amusing moment in the story. Every action is deliberate, an acknowledgement that the evening's pace is unhurried, that the rhythm of the caravanserai is now dictated by reflection, rest, and the slow unfolding of night. Merchants, too, are immersed in quieter rituals. Bowls of remaining spices are carefully covered and stored. Textiles are folded with patience, and small tokens of goods are arranged neatly for the following day. The soft scraping of cloth and the gentle placement of ceramic jars contribute subtly to the ambient sound, blending with the hiss of the fire, the ripple of water, and the occasional hum of a traveler's song. Every gesture is infused with care, a slow choreography that acknowledges the conclusion of the market and the quiet beauty of routine. The sense of evening settle over the courtyard with a subtle grace. The lingering warmth of bread, faint traces of roasted meat, and the sweetness of dried fruits mingle with the cool notes of night air and the delicate aroma of incense. Small tendrils of smoke curl lazily from burners, weaving through arches and over carpets, carrying subtle hints of myrrh, rose, and sandalwood. The mixture is calming, soothing, a gentle reminder that the day's activity has faded and the night invites rest and reflection. Children, who had been lively earlier, now sit quietly near their guardians or wander slowly in the soft light. Their voices are muted, whispers rather than shouts, small giggles that rise and fall in quiet rhythm. They peer at the flickering flames of lanterns or the warm glow on tiles, mesmerized by the shifting patterns of light. Every small motion seems measured, a reflection of the courtyard's slower, calmer pulse. Even the occasional paw of a cat or the flutter of a bird overhead is absorbed into the meditative calm, adding texture without disturbance. As the sky deepens into a rich indigo, stars begin to appear, scattered across the desert expanse above the caravanserai. The first twinkling lights are mirrored faintly in the pools of the central fountain, where water shimmers with the reflected lamp glow. The courtyard's arches frame the night sky, a silent canvas for quiet contemplation. Travelers pause, gazing upward for a moment, allowing the soft vastness of the heavens to deepen the sense of calm that fills the space. In this slow, deliberate attention, the rhythm of day transitions fully into the gentle cadence of night. The courtyard sounds continue to soften. Conversations are minimal, each word chosen with care, carrying only the warmth of presence rather than the weight of necessity. The crackle of the fire is intermittent, a soft punctuation in the evening symphony. Water ripples quietly in the fountain, and the occasional shuffle of fabric or footstep adds only the gentlest of beats. Even the breathing of camels and horses, steady and measured, becomes part of the ambient rhythm, a comforting undertone that binds the space together in quiet harmony. Travelers begin to gather in small clusters, sharing tea or quietly observing the courtyard. Some lean against arches, their arms resting on cool stone, eyes soft, their attention drifting lazily from the faint movements of others to the warm glow of the lamps. Others sit cross-legged on woven mats, passing a cup of tea with slow, careful hands, listening to stories or recounting the day's minor observations. These interactions are gentle, without urgency or expectation, woven into the evening's calm as if part of the very architecture itself. Merchants take a moment to reflect on the day, a quiet satisfaction in their soft smiles and deliberate gestures. A last glance over the array of goods, the careful arrangement of remaining items, and the closing of small chests signal both the end of commerce and the maintenance of routine. Every movement is unhurried, deliberate, and infused with quiet presence, honoring the rhythm of a day that has passed gently and the promise of one that will follow. The courtyard's lighting continues to soften as lanterns flicker with the gentle breeze. Shadows lengthen, blending with the soft blue of approaching night. Small fires continue to cast warm halos, and the last rays of the sun, brushing the highest tiles and arches, fade to a muted gold. The air carries a medley of calming scents, faint smoke, lingering spices, the warmth of baked bread, and the gentle, earthy fragrance of stone cooled by evening. All these elements weave together into a lullaby for the senses, grounding the courtyard in peaceful reflection. Even the water in the central fountain takes on a new character as night deepens. Its ripples catch the subtle amber light of lamps and the last vestiges of sunset, creating a soft, dancing shimmer. The sound of water moving over stone is gentle, measured, and constant, a subtle reminder of continuity and tranquility. Travelers and merchants alike are drawn to it in quiet moments, watching reflections and tracing the patterns with attentive eyes, finding a sense of calm and rhythm in its unhurried flow. As darkness fully descends, the Caravanserai courtyard becomes a sanctuary of stillness. The market's earlier energy is now a memory, carried lightly in the air, replaced by the gentle hum of life slowing. Conversations are minimal, gestures are careful and deliberate, and the courtyard itself seems to breathe, inhaling the warmth of the day and exhaling into the quiet of night. Travelers settle on carpets, sharing small stories, sipping the last of their tea, and observing the interplay of firelight and shadow. Animals rest quietly, and the soft breathing of camels, horses, and birds adds a soothing, rhythmic undertone. In this calm, reflective space, the day ends not with fanfare or excitement, but with attentive presence. Each visitor, merchant, and traveler participates in the gentle meditation of evening. Small exchanges, a shared smile, a cup of tea, a quiet word of gratitude, carry meaning precisely because they are deliberate and unhurried. The courtyard, framed by arches and tiles, bathed in soft lamplight, and alive with measured movement, embodies the slow poetry of everyday life. And as the final light fades, leaving only the subtle glow of lanterns and fires, the caravanserai rests. The market is silent, the courtyard's empty except for those who linger in quiet contemplation. The fountain continues its gentle ripple. The air carries the faint, lingering aromas of the day, and the night sky, now fully dark and scattered with stars, envelopes the courtyard in serene embrace. Travelers, merchants, and pilgrims alike settle into rest, their bodies and minds cradled by the gentle rhythms of the day that has passed. Here, in this space of quiet reflection and measured calm, the caravanserai becomes more than stone, tile, and wood. It is a living repository of human presence, attentive care, and gentle interaction. The courtyard, now silent and peaceful, holds the memory of the day's encounters, exchanges, and simple joys, offering them back to those who linger in the quiet, ready to carry them into the restorative stillness of night. And so, the caravanserai sleeps, or rather, breathes quietly, in harmony with the desert night. The lamps flicker, the fountain ripples, the animals rest, and the travelers dream, all enveloped in the soft, enduring rhythm of a day that unfolded with patience, attentiveness, and calm. In the gentle embrace of evening, life here is complete, full, and quietly profound, inviting all who witness it to sink into the same slow, meditative peace. Nightfall over the caravanserai. The market has long since quieted. Where once there was the hum of bargaining, the clatter of hooves, and the rhythmic calls of merchants, now only soft echoes remain. The last of the traders have drawn shut the heavy wooden doors of their stalls, and a hush has settled over the vaulted courtyard. You hear the faint creak of leather sandals as a caretaker sweeps away the dust and stray straw left behind. His broom moves with unhurried patience, as though the night itself waits for him to finish. Above, the sky has deepened into indigo, the first stars shimmering like tiny lanterns scattered across the heavens. The crescent moon leans low, casting a silver light over the tiled domes and archways of the caravanserai. Where the sunlight once danced in golden warmth, the moon now paints in cool blues, softening edges, quieting details, and cloaking the market in a hushed kind of beauty. A solitary oil lamp flickers in a niche, its flame bending gently in the breeze that drifts down from the open desert. The scent of saffron and cumin still lingers faintly in the air, though it is fading, replaced by the drier smell of packed earth cooling in the night. Inside the rooms that line the courtyard, travelers rest upon carpets, their long day of trade and journey behind them. Some sip the last of their tea, the steam curling upward before vanishing into the shadows. Others have stretched out to sleep, wrapped in woolen cloaks, their soft breaths mingling with the quiet sounds of the night. A few voices linger still, hushed and low, perhaps reciting a prayer, or retelling a story that began in a faraway city, now winding down as eyelids grow heavy. Even the camels in the stables nearby have settled, their great bodies folded to the ground, chewing in slow, absent rhythms. The entire caravanserai seems to exhale as one, surrendering to stillness. The vast desert beyond lies cloaked in silence. In the far distance, a caravan lantern glimmers like a solitary star, making its way slowly across the horizon. But here inside these walls, time seems to pause. The clamor of the market has been replaced by a deep and timeless calm. One might imagine that centuries from now, another day will begin much the same way. Traders will arrive with silks and spices, pilgrims will pause for rest, and the great vaulted arches will once again echo with life. Yet in this moment, only peace remains. The stones hold their warmth a little longer, the air cools gently, and the world seems softened, as though cradling every weary traveler in its embrace. And so the day comes to a close. The market of the Caravanserai, alive with color and sound only hours before, now rests under the watch of the stars. The oil lamps burn low, casting halos of light that slowly fade into darkness. The hush of night deepens, inviting not only the merchants and travelers, but also you, the listener, to drift into rest. Let the quiet of these ancient walls surround you. Let the flickering of the last lamp guide your thoughts gently into dreams. The day of trade is done, and only stillness remains. Thank you for traveling with me tonight. Rest well, and until our next journey together, may peace remain with you.